First up, why many are calling for a recall of lesbian bishops. Next, why Donald Trump let Hannity get the handshake upper hand. Next, with recent footage of a brawl in Costco, investors wonder if retail is making a comeback. In other financial news, what tech executives did a good enough job kissing Donald Trump's ass to receive handouts. Next, as Jennifer Aniston ages into looking more masculine, there are claims that Obama is ready to date her. Now I'm an older man, and I don't know that my prostate can handle any more Big Mac. He's rather large, and while it was a good time, I'm going to try out the heterosexual thing, start eating some white meat. With the recent ceasefire in Gaza, Israel is taking the opportunity to bomb other areas. It's our deal with the Americans that they'll only send us new bombs if we drop the current bombs, and so we're looking for new areas to explode. And lastly, after an uptick in incidents like this...
And child, listen, I want y'all
I
to
am
tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do
not
call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will.
am reclaiming my time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
I am reclaiming my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman.
Many are calling on the women of Congress to take how to behave in the workplace classes, creating a challenge for HR departments who are mainly focused on educating men on how to make the workplace more inclusive for women who would then take their job promotions, while also reducing the pool of people they could potentially date so that they could all sleep with the same person and have something new to complain about. It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth! If I'm going to take the time to pretend like I am a heterosexual, Jennifer Aniston seemed like a good place to start. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. We are working with all new studio equipment today. Please let me know if I'm coming through clearly, if I'm loud enough, if you guys can hear me. I've actually been home, and we've made some big strides in Run Your Mouth Enterprise. Firstly, starting next week, we're gonna have some merch available. Gonna have those Prosecute Fauci t-shirts. I got a merch store. I just wanted to order the stuff first, make sure that it looked all right. And we got the new soundboard up and working. I think you guys can let me know if you can hear me okay. If not, I might switch to this microphone next week. We've got all sorts of fun new tools coming your way, including that I got to set up for phone calls, which we will start taking later in the episode. We will try that out. We will see how that goes. Before I get into the news, because we're going to do a quick run through of all the headlines, it's going to which I think we're going to do more. I think we're going to start, we're on the road to daily, everybody. Daily Run Your Mouth, where you can wake up in the morning. I'm going to start waking up real early, taking even more coffee, and you guys can sit there in your car and get a whole rundown of everything that's going on in the news. But I did have some flying madness that I did want to break down from this past week. I don't know. I'm drinking less. I don't see a time when I ever get to a point that I'm not drinking in airports. I don't even know. Like, if the plane's on time, you get on a plane in the morning and you fly, then you can be an adult. But when you get stranded for an entire day at 4 different airports, I don't know how anyone does that sober. I don't know anyone who takes the sobriety path in life doesn't have one day like that and go, all right, well, I'm done with that lifestyle. Which brings me just to my first point about airports, which is, your product is that you're supposed to get me someplace faster or at least more convenient than just getting in my car and driving it. And, so I got rerouted through Washington, D.C. the other day, coming from already connecting. So first is, wake up at 4 in.the morning to get on your flight. Don't worry. I'm going to get to a point that's more global than just me complaining about flying. But I need someone to complain to. Who's got the money for therapy to show up once a week and have them listen to your bullshit? So you guys have to suffer through it. I woke up at 4 in the morning to get to a flight, and then of course that flight gets delayed. You miss your first transfer. You got to talk to 19 different people before they can get you onto another flight. The next flight's going to D.C., so now you got to transfer again. But you think, hey, D.C. is not that far. That's only an hour and 10-minute flight. But then that flight gets delayed by 3 hours. Then you sit on the tarmac, and they're like, hey, we can't quite leave yet. Then you show up in New York, and they got to circle LaGuardia. And now all of a sudden your airport experience was longer than just driving from D.C. And then, so at what point should you get a refund because they didn't actually give you what you paid for? It's like if I made a reservation at a steakhouse to eat a delicious steak, and then I showed up and I ate the bread that was there, and then they told me after 4 hours of sitting there, hey, we're out of steak, but, you came here to be full, and you got your... No, that's not what I came here for. I came here for you to be cheaper or more convenient. If you're neither of those things, give me my money back. All right, that's one. Two is, you don't get much if you're sitting in coach on an airplane, you don't get much. You don't get much. You got to battle someone for an armrest. You might get one little tiny can of seltzer waters. You might get some tasteless granola bar. You might get a couple movies to watch. You don't get much. And I think in the back of your seat, they should put a steel beam, because if you're tall, you get to spend your entire life being tall, and people will just look at you. They'll want to have more sex with you. You'll think you're a better mate. They'll think you're a better person to run a company. We're just stupid people, and because you look up and it's upwards, you think, oh, you must be more divine than the shorts because I'm actively looking up at you, which is a gazing at the stars, because I guess that's where God is. And so if I'm going to gaze up at you, you must know more about life and be more noble and more in control. And so if you're tall, you get a lot of perks and benefits in life just by the fact that you're tall. You didn't earn shit. You're just tall. That's it. That's all. You're tall. Great. Wonderful. And so I think in the back of my airplane seat, there should be a steel fucking beam. It should be a plastic hard back end. If your knees are too long, you should not be able to dig it into my back for an entire flight. All I get is that shitty seating, coach. There's no reason why I'm feeling your knees in my back. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. That is my seat. That is my territory. I will bomb you like you're Gaza and I'm an Israeli. Except I won't actually say anything the whole flight because, it's kind of... But the neighbors are gone, by the way. We took care of that situation. We got rid of those. All right, that's all the shenanigans. I do have quite a few stories that I want to run through today, and that's why all the listeners of this show, you should go to, in the episode description right now, Cell Shot Nutrition, sponsor of the show. They got it's like the little 5-hour energy drinks, but it's made by our very own Steven, the wonderful non-scientist. And it's got all sorts of other things in there, and they're mighty convenient. I prefer it at night because it doesn't make me need to shit my pants while I'm out. I don't have to do comedy spots and drink another cup of coffee. And so it's nice for that. It's real convenient. They're short. I keep them in my bag when I'm on the road. I don't have to find myself energy drinks. And since we're going to be plowing through the headlines real quick, let me suggest that you get yourself all good and caffeinated and get yourself some Cell Shot Nutrition. All right, let's get into the news because... We're in day 2 territory with Donald Trump. He had big, bold promises for day 1, and for the most part, I like what he's doing. I'm seeing a ballsier Donald Trump that's doing a better job of actually representing what us, the people, voted him in for. Well, not me, because I didn't actually show up to vote. Who wants to be responsible if he decides to go to our war to Iran and, whatever. Doesn't matter. But with the exception of the Sam Altman thing, which we discussed on Part of the Problem, and, government making investments to the billionaires who most recently kissed Donald Trump's ass. He's making some good moves, so let's explore. Let's see what is going on. All right, so first news story of the day is you got Donald Trump. President Trump walks off plane into Western North Carolina and talking about being tall and being the divine as he showed up and he said, help has arrived. I will bless your soil by standing on it. With my legs touching the earth, you will now have prosperity for the next 100 years. You're welcome. And then he got back on his plane and he flew off to California. And at first, Newsom, this article came out that Newsom plans to crash Trump's LA wildfire visit, which this is almost exactly like that South Park thing with the Royals going, "We want our privacy, we want our privacy," where Newsom shows up, hair slicked back, makeup ready to go, television crew in sight to go, "How dare you politicize this incident? Hey, camera guys, are you getting this? How dare you come here and politicize what's going on? Are you getting me on camera right now? How dare you politicize this?" But then Donald Trump actually did politicize it, but in a beautiful way. I can respect this call where he goes, listen, if all these wealthy billionaires want some money for us to bail out this state, you know what's going to happen? You guys are going to have to start doing some voter ID laws, or at least this is as reported by CNN. I saw this right before I hopped on the live stream, and I like this leverage. If you guys are going to manipulate our elections and always vote blue all the time, at least you can't rig the elections by all of these recently imported minority voters voting for things that are getting in the way of water, making it, not into the ocean. There's something going on here that you guys keep voting for this dumb Newsom guy. And so if you fix that and at least have honest and fair elections or guarantee that you're going to make sure that the illegals aren't voting in it, I'll give you the money that you need to fix it. And so I guess, yes, he is politicizing a tragedy, but I gotta say, I agree with that call. I thought it was because otherwise you keep just washing over the problems and nobody learns and nothing gets fixed. I felt like that's kind of what happened in COVID when New York City got a major bailout from what I remember, and they've been running deficits for years. It wasn't a new problem because of COVID that all of a sudden they were running deficits. But Joe Biden said, hey, you know what? You helped me sell this virus. You killed those people in old age homes. So I'll play ball and I'll send a bunch of money to your state so that you can pretend like you've been a good governor this whole time and that it wasn't a failed state because of all your policies. And so if the federal government keeps just coming in and bailing out, the blue states because they have failed policies, no one's ever going to learn and they're going to continue to have failed policies. So do I, and listen, I'm not a big fan of federal funding. Does this actually go to anything good any of the times? Probably not. I mean, if we start breaking it down, maybe it's completely not helpful. Maybe it's like foreign aid. But sometimes you're like, with all the money that we're being spent, it makes sense for this money to be spent. It's not going to be the first on my list of things that I'm going to say government shouldn't spend money on. And if states are going to get bailouts, I think there's something to be said for some concessions of if I bail you out, you got to make some changes. And so in this case, if I'm going to bail you out, that water that you're flushing into the ocean, we're not flushing it into the ocean anymore. And you can't have illegals voting because it doesn't make sense. It does. If getting an ID is racist, figure out how to make that a not racist process, and don't speak down to the minorities that legal people in this country can't figure out how to navigate how to get the ID. That's not an excuse. All right, moving forward. Like I said, flying through the news topics. Get your cell shot nutrition. So Donald Trump, he's making good on some promises, and there's not a lot of context on this one. I don't know who he deported, but the deportations have begun. You got a picture right here of people being sent back down to Mexico, I believe. And so Donald Trump's making good on rounding up people and sending them out. And, I do have some reservations here because I like Mexicans. Like, there's some other minorities. If I had to write the list of minorities that I'd like to see deported, they would not be the first on my list. Their women are good looking. They've got an upbeat and positive attitude. They like to contribute to our culture. And I find that they're grateful about being here. And then, of course, but it's not a working system. You can't just have an open border and everyone just pouring over it. And if you can sneak in, then you get to stay. And that's how you become a citizen. And then you potentially vote against the people's interests, the people that are living here. And you take up all the social goods and you put your kids in the public schools. And, if you're going to leech on the system, that's not going to work. And so you got to have some sort of a process for how this is going to work. And it's not just pouring over and then hoping that the Democrats can get more congressional seats by attracting you to their cities with free benefits. That doesn't work. But I don't know who they deported. I hope it's not some of the good ones. Like, let me tell you, there's some people keeping those bagel shops alive in New York with incredible service that you're like, I wish we can get more of these Mexicans everywhere because like there was this place Bagel and Brew I used to go to in Astoria, and the dude that worked that cash register was a wizard. Like you ever watch one of these dudes and they're like flipping like 19 pizzas at the same time, and you're like, how are you even this good at this job? This should be a sport, and you should get a gold medal for how good you are at what you're doing. There was this dude working the cash register, and man, that line moved. You're like, I wish the airlines could hire you and figure out the efficiency that you have. So zero context for who got deported. Hopefully it's these criminals we keep hearing about. Hopefully they're getting the criminals out first, and we'll go from there. And then, like I said, let's have the great amnesty bill where you can sign off and be a second-class citizen and stay. You don't get social benefits, you have to pay taxes, and your kids aren't automatically citizens. And then we can figure out from there maybe a process where you can earn your citizenship as well. But everyone wins. You don't have to be deported. You get to contribute to the country. You can live a better life while you're here, and you don't get to vote away our rights and steal social benefits. But in the meantime, the show of force, I think, is going to keep more people from just piling in. I think more people are going to realize, hey, it's not worth the risk because I might just get sent home. And after making all that effort, and lives might even be saved in that process, because instead of the chaos of just whoever can sneak in and then partner with the cartel to come over, who knows how many kids actually went missing in this process. So listen, there needs to be a better process than people just pouring in, and it's not fair that we're supposed to vote as a country, and if the majority of the country doesn't want this, or they're going to end up losing their voting power because of illegal immigrants coming in, that does not work. And so at least he's making good show of force right out the bat, which I think will change the dynamics of how many people want to come here. With all that said, though, there is no context to who got rounded up, and your favorite Mexican might have gotten shipped out. There's no context yet to who it's been. All right, before I take my next topic, I will let everyone know we're going to try it out. It's the first time doing it. We will see how it works, but we are taking calls, and that is the number right there on the screen. In the future, this feature might only be on the subscriber episodes. That website will be launching probably as of next week. Like I said, I am home. I am taking my Cell Shot Nutrition. We are getting things done. We've got the new soundboard. We've got a new production team. We've got a whole new look at the studio space that I'm spending more than my mortgage on. We are making things happen up at Run Your Mouth Enterprises. And newest feature is at the moment, if you guys want to give it a try, we will be taking calls. The number is, I got myself a fancy Greenwich number. So, if you want me to take your money in investment opportunities, we can do that as well. But the number I am working with is 203-340-1028. Lines are open, and here we go. It is the first ever caller on the Run Your Mouth podcast. Let's see if we have audio for you. Welcome to the show, good sir.
Do you hear me well?
I hear you loud and clear. Who do we got on the show? This is a historic moment for Run Your Mouth Enterprises right here.
It's Runaway Slav.
Oh, wow. Long-time commenter on the show, first-time caller. Have we ever met in person? Because you're like in every single episode. I don't know how you catch it live. Do you have no life? How are you always able to catch the show?
I mean, I work a lame desk job. No, dude, your face brightens up every time we meet.
There you go. Where have we met? I travel a bunch, so just remind me.
Forest Shores of Scott Horner's house and Creek and Cave. And
oh, there you go. Absolutely. I even recognize your voice. There you go. How's it going, buddy?
Well, they're getting kicked out, and I'm happy, bro.
Oh, there you go. So you just came in to celebrate that the immigrants are being thrown out of the country.
Don't use that. Do not lump me in with them. I'm an immigrant. They are trespassers. So
okay. And how did you get your citizenship that you feel like you're above them?
I earned it. I was sat on a green card. Took the studied. I mean, I didn't even have to study. They told me I was even excused from taking the citizenship test, but I helped my family study. The ones that had to do it. It was very easy, but I insisted on taking the test myself. Passed it with flying colors, 100 out of 100.
I've never gone. I would probably I think I could pass that test. I don't think I would just get an 100 off the bat. I've never looked at what the questions are. My guess is it's the social studies stuff that they taught us in 4th grade. It's like how many states are there? What are the capitals? Who is George Washington? Is it like just basic American information?
Yeah. So basically, they do go off the top with basic civics, branches, difference between,
All right,
how
so
many congressmen, like,
Slav, before I let you go, and I appreciate you calling in, and that a noteworthy individual such as yourself was the first-time caller, and that you felt inspired to call in to celebrate people being thrown out of the country. But the people in the chat would like to know what your favorite flavor of crayon is.
favorite flavor of what?
Of crayon.
Crayon. Well, I'm not a Marine.
Oh, is that a
Not a
Marine
United
thing? I
States
didn't even
Marine.
realize that's a Marine thing.
Well, I mean, what is it? They make that joke because they always have to like look at maps and they use crayons to mark on them, but
Got it.
they keep them in their mouth while they're flipping the pages. But hey, it's cool that your calling system is working. All the best for you, the show.
Wait, I wanted to hang up.
New
I wanted to
Year.
hang up on you. You don't get to hang up on me. I'm hanging up on you. Later, buddy. No one hangs up on me. No one decides that they're bored of me before I'm bored of them. All right, let's take some more topics. And call line is open. So if you guys want to hit me between topic shifts, I will be taking calls. Or if someone wants to hit it right now, I'll take one more call before the next topic. All right, let's get into this one. Speaker Johnson forms committee to probe January 6th Democrat original investigation, which is fun that every 4 years, someone does something terrible. All right, we'll take the one more call. And by the way, before I take this, I got to figure out how to not. Do you guys hear it ringing also? Because that's a lot of ringing. I got to figure out. I probably just have to silence the ringer. Welcome to the show, random person, I believe, from Canada.
Hi, Robbie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Where in Canada are you from, and are you hoping that Donald Trump actually annexes Canada?
I would welcome you guys as saviors at this point in Canada. I live in a socialist paradise of Ontario, and I hope to see you and Dave in Buffalo very soon.
I'm looking forward to that Buffalo show, and I was considering adding a Toronto. And then I just decided I don't want to step foot in your country. I don't want to even I don't even want to support it on that level. I don't want Trudeau's border agents to possibly get up in my anus. The only thing I'd go up there for is Danny Polachek was telling me that in your health food stores you basically just have speed, and I'd be interested in purchasing some speed and having a speed day just for the thrills of it.
We can't even get Zins here. I can't even get a Zin. I have to use fucking Sonic.
Wait, which brand?
Zonic. It's some knockoff brand. Because you have to go to an actual pharmacy. I love going to Buffalo and getting and smuggling in like 3 or 4 Zins.
Yeah, what happens if you get busted with Zins trying to cross the border with the good American Zins?
Well, the one time we were crossing, the border agent let us through, but she started to give me the whole health spiel of, oh, this causes this. And I'm like, I don't give a hell.
All right. Enough silly banter. You're calling into the show, celebrating the fact that we've got working sound systems. What do you have for us before I move on to the next topic?
On the topic, I know I just tuned into about your voter ID. And I just want to state that in socialist Canada, when I go and vote for Justin Trudeau, I have to show an ID. And I genuinely don't understand the American left's hatred of voter ID, because how do you function in a society? And how the hell do you go and pay your taxes if you don't have a driver's license? How do you buy liquor? They make up this weird,
and especially from the people that are always complaining about safety and needing to know who everybody is all the time and tracking all of our movements. It's like the exact people that seem to always advocate for controlling us, knowing who we are, where we are at all times in the name of safety and in the name of government involvement. For some reason, on this one important thing that they always talk about, the sanctity of democracy, But for some reason, for that activity, it's also racist to require the basic action of going to get the ID, which once again, it's not like you got to go through some private company and some evil corporation is making it difficult. Like, you're the company. If there's a racist process here, fix that racist process. How is that an excuse to go, oh, you can't function? Like, literally, you can't live your life without an ID. That means you're not driving a car. You're not buying liquor. You're never flying in an airplane. And so there's a racist process that prevents people from all those other things, but you're not going to fix that. You're not going to make IDs more available so that people can live a normal life. You're just going to let them bypass the racist process of getting the ID because voting is so important that they'll let you do that. But for everything else, in other words, the state is actually admitting to being racist and preventing minorities from being able to engage in regular life because they're unable to fix the process and help these people get identifications. It's pretty remarkable if you think about it that way.
I could not, in the chaos of 2021, 2022, I was able to visit a mall, right? And I did not want to take any procedures, but I was able to go into a mall, but I wasn't able.
Give me a second. I accidentally, I have ADD, and I decided while you were talking, I was going to see if I could make a change to lower the ringer for the next call, and then I turned you off. Try talking. Yeah, all right. I think that's the end of calls for this episode. I think I just disconnected this because I couldn't not fiddle and fidget. Classic me there. Yeah, I can hear you, but no one else can because you're no longer looped into my soundboard because I'm an idiot. All right, well, that was the experiment with calls for this episode. Hanging up on this guy, and calls will be back next episode when I reconnect this and then learn not to fiddle with things. You just saw ADD at its best of he started talking, and I was like, oh, why don't I fiddle? All right, let's take a comment here. Runaway Slav, back in the chat, buying booze and entertaining at a bar is racist because of IDs. Moderately amused. I would call, but I might ruin it for everyone. Robbie switched it to only allow blue check marks to message him on X the day after I sent him some information that he had questions on. That is not true. Or at least I don't think it's true that you can only... Or I don't know how to change that setting. I never went in and said that only blue checkmark people could message me. So that must have been a new feature coming from Elon Musk when I was forced to purchase membership in order to continue to stream the show there. And if you have interesting information for us, I am more than happy to have you on. And in the next episode, when calls are available, you can call in. Or if you have something that you would like to say now in the chat, I will take it. Janelle's Make a Discord, Robbie. That's a next week project. We've made some improvements this week. I'm at home. I'm working on the studio space. And I think once the website's running with a chat feature, we will have a Discord as well. And then I got to reach out to the kid that hooked us up in California with the fancy hotel, because I think he will probably be the moderator on that. All right, let's get back into the show. We do got other news topics to run through here. And so this one is the Speaker Johnson forms committee to probe January 6 Democrats. And my guess is they're going to come up with zero. But, you know, I'm just going to throw it out there. I would like to work on this TV show. I know how to sell this information. I know that only so many people watch my content, but that's because the algorithms are downplaying it. The entire world would like this information if they just knew it was out there. Everyone would rather live in the future and celebrate being right. The people that listen to this show are the most informed on every topic, and I hope that they all make more money than I do trading off the information that I put out on this show. I hope there's someone out there working on carbon-reducing trees as we speak and makes a fortune, and then one day buys a single t-shirt from a booth for me and goes, hey, thanks for that stock tip. So anyways, I'd like to work on this TV show, because here's what you got to do. You just got to take all the footage, you know, the stuff that Tucker Carlson got and then seemed to get fired over something else about and then couldn't put out, got one person freed from jail in a single episode, or hire his production team. All you got to do is exactly what happened for the shaman guy, that when we saw the full footage of that day, everyone's like, that guy shouldn't be in jail. And so what you do is you make it a nightly series on Fox News. Do it late at night when everyone's bored. It can be after midnight every day. We'll profile one political prisoner from January 6th, where you actually show all the security footage of that individual from that day, and then you just interview them to find out what the processes was of them dealing with their lawyer, them being prosecuted, what their experience was in jail. Just inform people about the individuals that did nothing other than walk in through an open door, or that were attacked by the police and then got caught up in the riot. All you got to do is get the human stories out there of the way that people suffered who did not engage in violence in that day. And on that note, I meant to read this on the last episode, but we had broken cords and I couldn't see it. And I think this from an NPR article that might have written this a little bit more, in my opinion, harshly. But this was from Biden as to why it would be unconscionable to not pardon his relatives. Biden said exceptional circumstances had prompted the pardons, even when individuals have done nothing wrong and in fact have done the right thing and will ultimately be exonerated. The mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage reputations and finances. Isn't that horrible that the president himself will admit that if the machine turns against you and you're innocent, that's still a problem because you can go broke trying to fight? Like, just think about how evil you must be to have overseen a system that you understand is so corrupt that at any point in time someone could have done nothing wrong and the system could attack them, and then they can go broke trying to fight the system, and you don't try and fix that at all. It's just for your couple relatives who might have to deal with that, you'll let them off the hook. And then isn't that also an admission that anyone that the system decides to go up against, like, you know, if Joe Biden's own wealthy relatives can't withstand the system coming after us, what does that say about the rest of our chances when the government decides to hit you with a lawsuit for no reason? And so even the people that might have avoided jail time, sorry. Well, you know what? I do have ADD. Let's see if maybe this one magically connects. Hello, are you there? Yeah, but you're not coming through my thing. It's the ADD again that I was like, you know what, maybe it will magically work, and then it didn't work. Here, should we take it? You guys want to entertain yourself in the chat for a second? I'll see if I can reconnect it. Nah, let's not do that. But anyways, you could say one thing. I'll repeat it to everyone else, and then I'm not answering any more calls. What's up, bud? Can you hear me? Yeah, but not on the thing, so I'm letting you go. All right. Anyways, not taking any more calls, so don't hit the line. And don't call when it's not showtime either, because I have ADD. I'll be in the middle of work, and I'll just be answering calls. All right, next on the docket, we've got Trump assigns order to declassify files on JFK, MLK assassinations, and I want the Bigfoot and Ray Epps files. Listen, this stuff is fun, and it's cool that you're putting it out. It's also tragic that you need months. The files are just sitting there, but they need months to release them. They're going to end up with so many lines in them, they're going to be darker than MLK. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be so redacted, you're not even going to be able to read the thing, or magically the part about Mossad doing it will have disappeared. I mean, you guys have been sitting on these files for 20, 30, 40 years, and then all of a sudden, a president goes, hey, you have to release those, and, well, we need a couple months to make them palatable. I'm just saying at this point, once they're released, I'm calling bullshit. Releasing the files is like, hey, here's the files. Or you storm into the office and you go, I'm taking that thing and I'm putting it on the news right now. But hey, we need at least 6 more months so that we can clean these things up. I mean, that's some bullshit at this point. And I guess that's the circular logic of every conspiracy, is that even after the release now, everyone gets to go, well, that wasn't the real information. They had time to clean it up. But I'm just saying, the ballsy release the file means release the files. Why do they get more months to clean these things up? And then, of course, classic media. The relatives are upset about this. This is, I think JFK's grandson. The truth is a lot sadder than the myth, a tragedy that didn't need to happen, not part of an inevitable grand scheme. Declassification is using JFK as a political prop when he's not here to punch back. There's nothing heroic about it. There you go. Some of JFK's own relatives arguing against the American people having the truth. And then you've got Martin Luther King's kids going, for us, the assassination of our father is a deeply personal family loss that we've endured over the last 56 years. We hope to be provided the opportunity to review the files as a family prior to its public release, which is, they want to make sure any audios of the affairs at least make it seem like MLK was good in bed. All right, next topic, Taliban rebuff Trump's call to return U.S. arms worth billions. You know what? Before we get into this one, let's plug another one of our sponsors. We got enough sponsors. We're going to be daily on the show, everybody. FenixAMMO.com, talking about wars, munitions, this thing. Go to the company that won't even sell to the government. Get yourself a bag of bullets from the corporation with high-quality bullets for when you go out shooting, you go out target practicing, you want to stock up. Go to the companies that support the Run Your Mouth podcast, FenixAMMO.com. They're not shipping anything over to Afghanistan so that the Taliban could have what it needs for when they decide to regroup and work with the CIA, and then the CIA gives them mission instructions so we could go back in there. FenixAMMO.com, sponsor of the Run Your Mouth podcast, making the second episode in the week happen. Let's go. More episodes coming. FenixAMMO.com. Taliban rebuffed Trump's call to return U.S. arms worth billions, which, you know, I just see the writing on the wall in this one of Donald Trump go, if you don't give us our beer, I'm going to come back, I'm going to take it, and then it's the next 20 years in Afghanistan, like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon of us spending even more money to go get our gear back and then leaving more gear, and then just, it's just a cycle. We finally left, and then they, you know, we can't leave properly, and then Trump goes in, and we spend the next 4 years trying to get our shit back. We end up leaving even more stuff over there. Then they're even more powerful. You get another president that goes, this was ridiculous. Let's get out of here. They leave even more shit, and then it's just back and forth, hokey pokey, spending the money, coming in, leaving, going back. At this point, I think to just call it a loss. I mean, I don't know what sanctions you're going to put on the Taliban now that we're working with in Syria as well. I guess this is a different wing of the party. Or maybe it's Al-Qaeda out in Syria, and so we're not working with the Taliban. We're just working with the Al-Qaedas. But here you go, Trump, and he's pulling some ballsy moves. He's pushing people around, and he's saying, you better give me my shit back. Maybe he'll do targeted strikes, and he'll start assassinating them until they call him back up and go, hey, come get your tanks. Saudi Arabia to boost U.S. economy with $600 billion investment. Donald Trump then went, why don't we just round this up to $1 trillion? And chances are it'll be like the last go-around when Donald Trump was like, look at all this business I drum up for the United States of America. I went over to this country, and I spoke to them, and I got us all these business contracts. And then it turns out it's for 4 companies. It's basically the military-industrial complex gets to sell more military gear to someone. Caterpillar gets a couple contracts, a couple friends of his. Hey, I just signed an agreement with the Sam Altman guy, so I'm going to need you to invest $400 billion into that project, so that on the way out, Trump coin is worth more money. But, you know, he's pushing everybody around. He's letting them know America is going to be number one. And unless you guys start throwing a little bread over our way, we're going to start exerting some pressure on you. America's back, and we're pushing people around. We're evicting people. We're not playing this pussy shit no more. And then you've got, this was the BlackRock CEO urges SEC to approve bond and stock tokenization, which is essentially Larry Fink going around going, that green energy scam didn't work out, and I need new products to sell to suckers. I went all wrong. I was selling the pension funds on this stupid green energy horse shit. I was all involved in a hopeful central bank digital currency. That whole thing fell apart, and what I need now is for you guys to be able to legalize this stupid tokenization shit, because this new age of investors isn't that interested in working with us. They're not that interested in Wall Street and our products, but for some reason they're out there willing to buy fart coin. So I need you guys to legalize whatever the fuck is going on over there so that I can get in on this racket. Trump revoked security detail for Pompeo and others despite threats from Iran. And, you know, this is the cool shit that Trump's doing. Trump finally learned who the deep state is. He finally learned who undermined him the last time around. He's got better advisors on his side. He's cleaning things up. There's no reason to call. We're not taking the calls. Declined. Don't call into the show anymore. There no calls ever again. Here, I'm even gonna take that thing down. It's down. It's down. The ringer's off. You're not going to distract me again in the middle of me talking. Except, all right, we're going to clean that up. We're going to clean that up. ADD live in action. There's not enough caffeine in Steven's things. All right. Anyways, I like what, like I said, everything but the Sam Altman play. I like a lot of what Donald Trump is doing. And I like this is him showcasing that he's learned since the last time around, and he's actually cleaning it up. He's taking on the deep state. And so even like Pompeo, who was heavily involved in the last administration, has gotten the boot. And on that note, John Ratcliffe did get affirmed to CIA director. If you guys don't remember, he was the most loyal voice who advocated for Trump in the last go-around when they pulled the whole Russia collusion nonsense. He was a congressman who then left to go basically take a payout from Donald Trump and go work as the CEO, I think, over at Truth Social. But in the last go-around, he seemed like a smart, competent guy. And other than Jim Jordan, he was the absolute best advocate for Donald Trump when they were taking control of his administration and throwing all that Russia collusion nonsense on him and undermining who had been voted into office. And so as Donald Trump actually aggressively moves forward with his agenda, he did get a loyalist into the CIA position. So my guess is you're not going to have as many people from the deep state undermining him. I saw this article in the New York Post about drones used to bust suspects could one day monitor New York's garbage in effort to enforce new trash bin rules. And I guess the idea is, it's funny. When I lived in New York City, you don't even notice the trash piles. There's trash piles all over the place. You don't even notice it. You don't smell it. And then people come and they visit New York and they're like, why do you just have your trash in the streets? And then all of New York, the wealthiest people in the wealthiest blocks, they have trash on their streets. It's the way that we all live. And then you're like any other bum who has a not clean apartment. You're like, I didn't even realize it's there. And then rats start running by and you're like, yeah, there's rats. And then every other city's like, no, we don't have fucking rats running around our streets because we don't leave garbage outside. But in New York City, we just pretend like, no, there's no other way to do it. And so we've got garbage on every street corner. And yeah, everyone has to live with rats. Who doesn't have rats? That's the way cities work. We have rats. It's literally just any lazy person with their dirty apartment who just thinks everyone on earth has bugs and rats in their apartment. But the answer is you clean it up and you don't have garbage there. It's not like I got a new law that you got to take your garbage and you got to actually put it in things so that they're not just sitting on the street for the rats to eat. And you go, all right, I think I like the idea of a way to enforce. Are you just leaving your garbage outside? Because that might mean less rats and less just garbage in New York City. Because now I don't live in New York City. So I come into New York City, I walk around, you're like, what the fuck's up with all this trash? It's like any other bad relationship you've ever had in your life. It seems normal until you leave, and then you come back and you're like, you got a bunch of trash piles here. Why did I ever like this place? And so it kind of sounds good. But then, I was thinking about it. I just got myself a new car. I really like my new car. And now I'm starting to get tickets in the mail again. Because my old car, not only was it not registered, I had it so long, the license plate was pretty worn out. And at some point, the license plates were still good. And I got so many tickets in the mail, I was getting close to the annual ticket limit where I'd have to go spend a week in classes learning how to drive in New York. And it's like, no, I'm a better driver. That's why I'm getting all the tickets, because I'm actually good at the driving thing. Unlike, and by the way, they get you in bad spots. They drop the speed limits down next to schools, and the schools are on the busiest roads that make the most sense to be moving on. They're right off of highways. You get off a highway ramp, and then there's a school there, and they drop down the speed limit, and now all of a sudden no one caught you. There was no cop there. You didn't do anything dangerous, getting a ticket in the mail. One time I actually ended up at a bar sitting next to the guy that had this system, and oh man, we debated it. He's like, oh, all speeders are sociopaths. And I'm like, you're just a sales guy, and you know that you have a grift that makes you money. And now you're going to talk down to me as if I'm a sociopath because I drive 5 miles over the speed limit, and you make money every single time? Oh, I don't make money off of each individual ticket. You make money off the contracts, though. And the idea is that the government makes money, so you're making a cut off of it no matter what. You can say whatever sales pitch you want, buddy, but you know what you're doing. You found you're in with the government so that you can profit. And don't pretend like you're doing anybody a favor, or that you don't speed in your car, or that I'm a sociopath for the way that I drive. You've got no data to support that. It was a pretty legendary drunk bar argument. So anyways, I get all these tickets in the mail. They didn't even catch me. And so you know what? This is, once again, government's got to figure out, if they're responsible for the garbage, how to not just have it sit in the streets, to be picking it up more regularly without having to have drones in the air that are tracking your faces and affecting your social credit score because you didn't put it into a trash bin. I just feel like this is the road where it's like the pitch is, hey, there'll be less trash in the streets. You're like, well, I like that. Hey, the people that aren't putting their trash into a bin, well, this is our way of monitoring it and holding them accountable. All right, I like that. And then the next thing you know, there's drones flying over New York City all the time, registering your face as you enter into the city and anything you do. How am I going to pee in the streets? All right, we got a couple more topics, and that will be the end of this episode. This was a fun one. Epstein's cellmate claims feds offered plea deal in exchange for framing Trump. And I'd like to believe this story, but can you believe the nonsense claims of the most roided up? You guys ever see pictures of this guy? I don't know. Do I have the pictures here? It was this totally roided up dude. We passed an important topic. It's all right. Well, one thing at a time. Don't let your ADD run too wild. You guys can look this guy up. The cellmate, who some people had speculated was the one that killed Epstein, I believe. He's this big roided up guy. And now he's claiming that the feds offered Epstein a plea deal as long as Epstein would basically make up even not true statements about Donald Trump. They would let him off the hook. Now the cellmate went so far as to claim that Epstein didn't like Donald Trump because they didn't know each other that well, and that Donald Trump threw him out of a Mar-a-Lago party because he was hitting on younger women. I'm calling bullshit on the story. It sounds to me like some guy's looking for a pardon and he's willing to throw out some shit, but it's a fun story nonetheless. All right, let's take a couple of comments. I see Brandon from Yo Kratom, home of the $6 kilo, only place in the entire world. You can get an entire kilo of Kratom for just $6, commenting, if it wasn't a scam, cars couldn't ever do over the speed limit. That's interesting. What are you saying? They could register the cars that you couldn't speed, and then, I'm not sure I totally follow you on that one. Ex-cop, I believe. I think you're right on that. Dildo Fagins, 44 is still more than 35. Matzo balls, even cops know most sober drivers go 5 to 10 miles over the speed limit at least. There is a funny thing that sometimes when you're drunk or high driving, you actually behave yourself more because you don't want to get pulled over. For some of us, that might be the safest driving you ever do. Robert Holston, has Robbie given his NFC and AFC championship game picks yet? I have not. I don't really follow football anymore. I probably could. I stopped following football in my earlier comedy days because I didn't want to give up Sundays. I was a diehard Giants fan. And then at one point, I realized I was rooting for people that were the exact same age as me. And I was like, that's kind of lame. Like when you're a kid, I don't know. You look up to those people, and then when you realize they're your age, you're like, am I going to root for another person? I say that while I tell all of you that you should cherish me and give me more of your money. Polkas just got a ticket for going 45 and a 25. Replaced from hometown area was always a 35. F them. 100%. Runaway Slav, as a drunk driver, I advocate the use of cruise control. Do the new car technologies ever get so good that there should be a little switch that you can put on the car, drunk driving assist, and maybe that doesn't allow you to speed, swerve, or if you're too swervy, it actually turns off the vehicle on you? I would agree to that. Listen, I don't want, I'm not talking about government monitoring my vehicle. I'm talking about the car comes with a switch, and you can opt to turn on that switch that tells your car that you are a drunk driver. And then the car automatically puts on lane assist, more aggressive stopping, doesn't let you go over a certain speed, and will shut off the vehicle if you're swerving too much and aggressively needing autocorrect. But then you can legally drive drunk, and it doesn't flag anyone to let them know. Like, it's not actually recorded in any way. It's just an internal system, because all the systems are digital from what I understand at this point. Mr. O'Kratom taught me about that. It's weird if you've been in cars and you can actually turn it from like normal mode to sport mode, and it's just a digital switch. It's nothing mechanical about it. It's just the computer. When did that rule? A little drunk driver switch. Maybe it even puts a bumper cars around the car, and you turn it on, and maybe you can only use it after 1 a.m. You got to drink. If you're going to quit out early drinking at the bar, you're not allowed to use it. But at what point, in all seriousness, at what point does the driver assist technology get good enough in your car that they let you drive drunk? All right, what else we got? I think I had 1 or 2 more stories, and then we'll call an episode. I saw this on Twitter from DC Drano, and this is what I'm talking about. I think I might have even had this on my list. If you go all the way back before the Libertarian National Convention, I said perhaps we shouldn't run a candidate and we should completely back Trump, and these are the demands that we should have for him. And I think I had no central bank digital currencies on that list of demands. And guys, this is a massive win for freedom. These are the kind of things where it's like playing defense where, listen, I don't love everything about Donald Trump. And as we're going to see in a second, I think he's pushing for lowering the interest rates. I think when it comes to topics of the financial system and spending money that we don't have and lowering interest rates, I think he's wrong on those topics. And I think we'll find out over time. Maybe he's wrong on Israel-Iran stuff, but we'll see how that plays out. But then there's some other massive, huge topics, which it's hard to even know if they had gotten Donald Trump out of the race or if he had executed him and the Democrats could have remained in control and continued the ESG nonsense racket going, what our lives might look like. If they continued to control the internet, take away our freedom of speech, and started moving towards a essentially backed digital currency where they're monitoring your face all the time, they know all of your behavior, and they can just take away your wealth from you at any moment, or they can determine you've overeaten your allotment of meat, you've consumed too much electricity. Only elites get to do that stuff because when they invest in the carbon-reducing technologies, well, then they get the carbon credits, and then all of a sudden we're purchasing things from them that they create out of thin air that don't actually do anything for the environment, and yet it's like the old church allowances that if you were wealthy enough, that's what the wealthy were looking for. They're looking for a carbon credit scheme where they could sell you literally nothing, a little ticket to use more carbon that they just get to have from government. And of course, it's because, well, they invested in carbon reducing technologies, but then if you look at what happened in other countries and building it, they weren't actually carbon reducing. And so luckily enough, at least on the pathway to freedom, it's been reported that Donald Trump has outlawed centrally backed digital currencies, which might have been one of the biggest risks on the table in terms of us allowing to have freedom in 100 years from now, 50 years from now, 20 years from now. That's a big victory right there. I'm not saying I love Trump. I'm not saying I fully support him, but I'm saying that there were some big issues on the table, like having endless people pouring over our border, fighting endless wars, removing freedom of speech, and moving forward with plans like essentially backed digital currency. And so, I mean, that's a massive win for freedom. Here, though, is Donald Trump in front of Davos. He went off on quite a bit. I beat you guys. You got to admit it. I did pretty good, and now you're done. But this was one of the more foolish things. Pushing for lowering oil prices. I like that. But then here he is pushing for lowering interest rates, which I'm not sure makes sense. But we can give it a listen.
Demanded lower oil prices and that interest rates drop worldwide.
I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately, and likewise, they should be dropping all over the world.
Trump listed the rapid-fire change.
All right. And I think we got one or three more rapid-fire topics, and that will be the end of the show, and then we'll be back next week. I like taking the calls. I just got to fix that and be less fidgety. Guys. All right, I'll read the headline. Someone pointed out to me, I got to read the headline first because a lot of people just listen to the show and then they don't know what I'm talking about. Here's the headline. Food prices are rising again, and I knew it. My fat ears to the ground. Did I not say 2 weeks ago, are you guys starting to notice inflation and that there's no eggs? And apparently because of those forest fires and because of the chicken flu, we're running out of eggs and all the food prices are going out. It's always not, like I said, listen to the show, celebrate living in the future and being right. That's the pitch, especially if we go daily. Think about how informed you guys can be on things. I said 2 weeks ago, I was like, are we coming into a new round of inflation here? Because I'm starting to notice that stores got no eggs. I loaded up, though. I like, you know what? I've stopped eating out. I've reduced my diet, and I like the pasture-raised eggs. And I went to Whole Foods, and I hoarded them. I got eggs through February. I hope they figure that one out by March. All right, we'll make this the last topic for today. We talked about the crazy church lady, sociopath, Nurse Ratchet Energy. That was the clip of her on The View saying, oh, I don't pay attention to the body language of the people I'm talking to because, yeah, you'd realize that no one's listening and they don't like what you have to say. The sociopath of, I know that what I'm saying is straight from the Lord and it's divine, and even if everyone in the church is throwing up on their own shoes and they're upset with it, I know that I'm in the right and they need to hear this. And so, no, when I preach, I pay zero attention to the audience I'm trying to inspire because I know that my words are so profound that even if everything about them shows me that they're asleep in their souls, I know they're getting my message and that I'm doing the Lord's work. No one should be allowed, no more invoking the Lord's name for your agenda. All right, last topic of today. There was reports out in California of basically a prison force that combats the forest fires. And I don't like, there's just something tragic about able-bodied people sitting in prison. And I don't think that we should have forced labor, and the incentives of then to have, like with that judge. I don't know if you guys remember this one. Biden just released him from jail, but there was this judge who had a deal with the private juvie prisons. I believe it was the private prisons. Even if it's not the private prisons, there's a whole industry of state prisons and in unions and whatnots, and they want to keep their jail cells full because I'm sure it affects their budgets as well. And so you don't want perverse incentives to be trying to send more people to jail. If you had forced labor in jail, you might have more judges who are getting paid on the back end to actually send people to jail. I told you I wasn't taking calls, and then I accidentally press answer. Anyways, you know what we might do? Maybe I'll stop this stream, and then I'll start a new stream to just take a couple of calls once I get it reattached. Getting distracted. Anyways, it feels like if people are able to engage in work and not just flee, I don't know the systems that they have here, they don't need to just be in jail cells. I don't know if they, in some sense, if you can contribute, I don't think they should only be making $5 a day. That makes no sense. If you're going to actually go out there and fight forest fires, I think you should be paid for the work that you're doing. But there's just something really tragic where it's like, if things are bad enough, then we can make use of these people. So it seems like they're able-bodied, they're able to work. There's probably a better level of contribution and dignity that would rehabilitate people more than just sitting in the cells. I'm not saying I got a perfect system on this or I thought it through completely. It just kind of caught my eye of something about this doesn't add up. If you're willing to trust them in these situations, they probably don't need to just be in cells. And like I said, I don't have it all worked out in my brain. The headline caught my attention, and we'll run through some headlines, so I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. That is the episode. Thank you for hanging out. Guys, next week we're back with a new episode. We're going to be taking calls. My personal website's going to be launched. We're going to have the paywall episodes. Hopefully we get some more sponsors, we get some more support, and then we start going maybe even just daily in the morning. More sketches coming your way, and then once I actually see the merch and make sure it's high quality enough to sell, which is not going to be a high bar. Look at the way I dress here. I'll let you guys know about that. So be on the lookout for it. Take a couple of comments, and that's the episode. BillTube, you should be a nun. Yeah, I'll take that paycheck. I guess I got her sermon down. Catching 45, we got to get rid of chattel and implemented prison work. I don't know what that is. Runaway Slav, ding ding dong, Robbie to fluster him is funny though. Runaway Slav, if you can't own a slave, are you truly free? That's a fun one. Jamie Johnson, no eggs because of bird flu. Facts. All right, that is our episode. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Back next week with a brand new episode. And next intro will be one of the filmed ones because I'll be out with the Shedcast boys on Sundays filming some sketches. And now I'm just saying words for no reason, so episode's over. Have a good